In December 1941, 4 days after Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, Adolf Hitler made a decision that German military planners had warned against for months. Germany declared war on the United States. The declaration was not required by treaty obligations. The Tripartite Pact with Japan only mandated mutual defense if a signatory was attacked, and Japan had initiated the attack. Wehrmacht Strategic Staff had repeatedly advised against war with America, calculating that adding American industrial capacity to the Allied coalition would make German victory impossible. Hitler dismissed these warnings. He believed that Japan's entry would tie down American resources in the Pacific and that Germany could defeat Britain and the Soviet Union before American power became relevant in Europe. That decision, to voluntarily declare war on the United States because of political alignment with Japan, transformed Germany's strategic position from difficult to impossible. It was the culmination of 3 years of political choices that treated Japan as strategic asset when professional military assessments said Japan was strategic liability. German military intelligence maintained comprehensive assessments of American industrial capacity throughout the 1930s. The numbers were overwhelming. American steel production exceeded German output by a factor of 5. American automotive industry could be converted to military vehicle production at scale Germany could not match. American aircraft manufacturing capacity dwarfed German capability. Professional military planners presented these assessments with clear conclusion: Germany must avoid war with America at all costs because American industrial mobilization would create material imbalance Germany could not overcome. These assessments were technically sound and politically unwelcome. Hitler's ideology held that American democracy was weak and that racial diversity prevented effective mobilization. He dismissed professional analysis as defeatist. When planners warned that American industry would produce equipment in quantities Germany could not contest, Hitler argued that willpower and tactical superiority would overcome material disadvantage. The professional military assessment said avoid war with America. Political leadership said America was not real threat. This fundamental disagreement about strategic reality would determine all subsequent decisions about Japan. The Tripartite Pact signed in September 1940 aligned Germany, Italy, and Japan as military allies. For Germany, the alliance served ideological purposes more than strategic logic. Hitler believed in racial hierarchy and saw Japan as acceptable non-European power because Japanese had demonstrated military effectiveness. The alliance validated Nazi ideology about superior nations dominating inferior ones. Strategically, Wehrmacht planners were skeptical. Japan was fighting its own war in Asia with objectives that did not align with German interests. Professional military assessment questioned what Germany would actually gain from Japanese alliance. Japan could not assist German operations in Europe or Africa. Japanese Navy operated in Pacific theater irrelevant to German needs. The only strategic benefit German planners could identify was that Japan might threaten Soviet Eastern territories, forcing Stalin to maintain forces away from European front. This was speculative and not guaranteed by the treaty. But ideological alignment outweighed strategic calculation. Hitler wanted Japan as ally because it fit his worldview, regardless of whether the alliance served German strategic interests. German and Japanese militaries never established effective strategic coordination. The two nations were fighting separate wars on opposite sides of the world. No unified command existed. No coordinated strategy was developed. Communication was minimal and slow. German planners in Berlin had limited insight into Japanese strategic thinking. Japanese planners in Tokyo had limited understanding of German needs. When German military staff proposed coordinated operations such as Japanese pressure on Soviet Far East coinciding with German operations in Europe, Japanese response was non-committal. Japan pursued its own strategic objectives in Asia and Pacific regardless of German preferences. The alliance that was supposed to coordinate Axis powers against common enemies functioned primarily as political declaration rather than military reality. Professional Wehrmacht officers recognized this immediately. They noted in planning documents that Japan was ally in name but not in coordinated action. The lack of strategic coordination meant that Japan's military actions occurred independently of German interests and sometimes directly contrary to German strategic needs. In April 1941, Japan signed Neutrality Pact with Soviet Union. For Germany, this was strategic disaster. German planning for Operation Barbarossa assumed that Soviet Union would face pressure on two fronts: German invasion from west and potential Japanese threat from east. Japanese neutrality meant Stalin could transfer Siberian divisions westward to fight Germany. German military planners immediately recognized this undermined Barbarossa strategy. They had calculated that Soviet need to defend Far East would reduce forces available against German invasion. Japanese neutrality eliminated this constraint. Wehrmacht intelligence tracked Soviet troop transfers from Siberian garrisons to European front throughout 1941–42. These were precisely the forces that German planning assumed would be tied down by Japanese threat. German military staff requested that Japan pressure Soviet eastern territories to prevent these transfers. Japan refused, citing neutrality agreement. Germany's supposed ally had made separate peace with Germany's primary enemy, directly weakening German strategic position. This was exactly what professional military planners feared about Japan alliance. Japan would pursue its own interests regardless of German needs. When Japan attacked Pearl Harbor in December 1941, Germany was not obligated to join the war against America. The Tripartite Pact required mutual defense if a signatory was attacked, not if a signatory initiated attack. German Foreign Ministry legal staff confirmed this interpretation. Wehrmacht Strategic Command unanimously opposed declaring war on America. They presented calculations showing that American entry would provide Britain with resources and production capacity that would make German victory impossible. The professional military consensus was clear: avoid war with America under any circumstances, even if this means allowing Japan to fight alone. Hitler overruled professional advice. He declared war on America 4 days after Pearl Harbor. His reasoning was political and ideological, not strategic. He believed showing loyalty to Japan demonstrated Axis solidarity. He assumed America would focus on Pacific War rather than Europe. He dismissed warnings about American industrial capacity as exaggerated. The decision transformed global strategic balance. Britain and Soviet Union, which Germany might have defeated separately, now had American industrial backing. Germany voluntarily created the three-power coalition that would destroy it. German economic intelligence tracked American mobilization with growing alarm throughout 1942. The production numbers validated exactly what military planners had warned. American tank production in 1942 exceeded total German production for entire war to that point. American aircraft production was exceeding German output by factors of 3 to 4. American shipbuilding was replacing Allied losses faster than German submarines could sink vessels. The industrial imbalance was not close, it was overwhelming. German economists presented analyses showing that even if Germany captured Soviet resources and British production capacity, the combined Axis could not match American output. This was the strategic reality that declaring war on America had created. Professional military and economic advisors had warned this would happen. Political leadership had dismissed warnings as defeatist. Now the predicted industrial imbalance was materializing as observable fact. Germany was fighting war against coalition whose combined production exceeded German capacity by order of magnitude. This was not outcome of military defeat, it was consequence of political decision to voluntarily declare war on industrial superpower that professional assessments said must be avoided. Germany received no meaningful strategic benefit from Japanese alliance. Japan did not coordinate operations with German needs. Japan did not threaten Soviet Eastern territories to tie down forces. Japan did not interdict Allied supply lines relevant to European theater. Japanese advances in Asia and Pacific occurred independently of German operations and timetable. When Germany requested Japanese actions to support German strategy, responses were negative or non-committal. The most Germany could claim was that Japan tied down American and British resources in Pacific that might otherwise go to Europe. But this was offset by the fact that German declaration of war on America brought American resources into European war in the first place. Professional military analysis calculated net strategic effect of Japan relationship. Germany gained no operational coordination or direct assistance while creating circumstances that brought American industrial capacity against Germany. The alliance provided ideological validation and political symbolism. Strategically, it was liability that Germany would have been better off without. German strategic planning staff had presented alternative approach to Japan relationship in 1940–41. Germany could maintain informal relationship with Japan without formal military alliance. This would preserve diplomatic flexibility while avoiding treaty obligations. If Japan chose to fight its own war in Pacific, Germany would not be committed to supporting Japanese actions. Most importantly, Germany could avoid situation where Japanese actions might trigger German war with America. The alternative preserved potential benefits of Japan distracting Soviet Union or Britain while avoiding risk that Japanese initiatives would create liabilities for Germany. Professional military assessment favored this approach. It was rejected because Hitler wanted formal alliance for ideological and political reasons. The Tripartite Pact demonstrated Axis unity and validated Nazi worldview about superior nations cooperating. Strategic flexibility was sacrificed for political symbolism. When Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, the formal alliance created political pressure for German declaration of war on America. The alternative approach would have left Germany free to avoid the declaration and to continue prosecuting European war without adding American industrial capacity to Allied coalition. When Hitler decided to declare war on America in December 1941, opposition from professional military and diplomatic staff was nearly unanimous. Wehrmacht Operational Command presented assessment that American entry made German victory impossible. Foreign Ministry legal staff confirmed Germany was not treaty-bound to declare war. Economic advisors presented calculations showing American industrial mobilization would create insurmountable material imbalance. Navy Command noted that American shipbuilding would overwhelm submarine warfare. Luftwaffe intelligence documented American aircraft production capacity. Every professional assessment reached same conclusion: avoid war with America. Hitler dismissed all objections. He insisted that Japanese loyalty required German support. He argued that America would enter European war eventually regardless of German declaration. He claimed that showing Axis unity would deter American commitment to Europe. None of these arguments addressed the fundamental problem that professional staff identified: American industrial capacity would ensure German defeat once committed to European theater. The declaration was political gesture that created strategic catastrophe. Professional judgment was completely overridden by political considerations that had no connection to military reality. While Germany and Japan fought separate uncoordinated wars, Allied powers achieved strategic coordination that Axis could not match. America, Britain, and Soviet Union established unified strategic framework despite ideological differences. Resources were allocated according to coordinated priorities. Operations were planned to support overall Allied strategy. Intelligence was shared systematically. The contrast with Axis coordination was stark. Germany and Japan had formal alliance but no strategic integration. German operations in Europe occurred independently of Japanese actions in Pacific. When one Axis power faced crisis, the other provided no meaningful assistance. Professional military analysts noted this asymmetry in planning documents. Allied coordination was functioning strategically while Axis coordination existed only politically. Germany had chosen alliance with Japan for ideological reasons while Allies coordinated based on strategic logic. The difference in approach was showing in results. Allied operations supported each other systematically. Axis operations were isolated efforts that often contradicted partners' interests. Germany's political decision to formalize alliance with Japan had created appearance of global coalition without substance of strategic coordination. Military historians generally identify winter 1941–42 as the point when Germany's defeat became strategically inevitable. Soviet Union had not collapsed as planned. Britain remained in war with American support increasing. German declaration of war on America in December 1941 completed the coalition that would destroy Germany. Wehrmacht strategic planning staff reached this assessment by spring 1942. They calculated that combined Allied industrial capacity would eventually produce material superiority Germany could not overcome. The assessment was not defeatist, it was mathematical. Germany simply could not outproduce America, Britain, and Soviet Union combined. Professional military command understood this and presented recommendations for negotiated settlement while Germany still held occupied territory. Political leadership rejected consideration of anything except total victory. The strategic situation that made defeat inevitable was partly created by Germany's own decisions about Japan. Formalizing alliance brought no benefits. Declaring war on America brought catastrophic liability. Both decisions were made for political and ideological reasons against professional military advice. The moment when German defeat became mathematically certain was moment when political decisions overrode strategic assessment about avoiding war with American industrial capacity. Germany's decisions about Japan exemplify recurring pattern throughout Nazi strategic planning. Ideology and political considerations consistently overrode professional strategic assessment. Military alliance with Japan served ideological validation of Axis unity more than strategic coordination. Declaration of war on America demonstrated political loyalty to Japan rather than serving German military interests. At every decision point, professional military and economic advisors presented sound strategic analysis. At every decision point, political leadership chose ideology over strategy. The pattern was systemic. Professional expertise existed but could not influence decisions made on political grounds. This was not unique to Japan relationship. Similar patterns appeared across German strategic decision-making. The cost accumulated. Each individual decision to prioritize politics over strategy seemed manageable. Cumulatively, they created strategic situation where Germany faced coalition whose combined power made German victory impossible. Professional military judgment correctly identified what strategic situation required. Political system prevented implementing that judgment. Germany did not lack strategic expertise. Germany lacked political structure that could subordinate ideology to strategic necessity. Strategic historians analyzing Germany's Japan relationship consistently pose counterfactual. What if Germany had avoided formal alliance and declined to declare war on America? The alliance provided Germany no meaningful strategic benefits. Japan would have fought its Asian War regardless of German treaty. Avoiding formal alliance would have preserved German diplomatic flexibility. Most critically, without political pressure from formal alliance, Germany might have avoided declaring war on America after Pearl Harbor. This would have left America fighting Pacific War while continuing material support to Britain and Soviet Union but not directly engaged in European theater. Would this have changed war's outcome? Germany was still facing Britain and Soviet Union whose combined resources exceeded German capacity. But avoiding American declaration would have prevented the three-power coalition from forming in its most complete sense. The strategic situation would still have been difficult but not mathematically impossible as it became with American industry fully committed to Europe. The counterfactual is not about Germany winning, it is about recognizing that Germany made political choice to create worst possible strategic situation when alternatives existed. Professional advisors presented those alternatives. Political leadership chose ideology over strategy. When Germany surrendered in May 1945, the Japan relationship could be assessed strategically. Germany received no meaningful military benefit from the alliance. Japan never coordinated operations with German needs. Japanese neutrality with Soviet Union directly harmed German strategic position. German declaration of war on America, politically motivated by Japan alliance, brought American industrial capacity against Germany, creating material imbalance that made defeat inevitable. Professional military and economic advisors had warned against every aspect of the relationship. They recommended avoiding formal alliance, maintaining strategic flexibility, and above all never declaring war on America. Every recommendation was rejected for political and ideological reasons. The relationship with Japan represented triumph of political considerations over strategic logic. Germany chose symbolic alliance over operational effectiveness. Germany chose ideological loyalty over diplomatic flexibility. Germany chose political gesture over military necessity. The costs were calculable. American industrial production provided allies with overwhelming material advantage. That advantage was direct result of German political decision to declare war on America, a decision that professional judgment unanimously opposed but that political leadership made because of alliance with Japan that served no German strategic interest. Germany did not lose because professional military advice was wrong. Germany lost partly because political system made strategic decisions based on ideology while systematically ignoring professional assessment of strategic reality.